you're a life coach, right? Anyone who's been on LinkedIn for 5 minutes, if I see another 25-year-old life coach, you get what there's more of those. And I think wisdom comes from experience more times than not bad experience. You have a lot of wisdom in how to pull yourself out of a rut. You can't have that wisdom unless you're in that rut.
Yeah.
Holding yourself out as a life coach, how do you get the fortitude or the almost arrogance to hold yourself? You get what I'm saying?
Oh, 1,000%. There's a lot of reasons that I can do it. I'm still not comfortable with it. I'm very uncomfortable. There's a saying that successful people get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's 1,000% true, because I'm uncomfortable and scared literally all the time, because in coaching and in my business, I'm always doing something I didn't do before.
Yeah.
That wasn't always true. For a long time, I didn't do anything I hadn't done before. I was very comfortable. I was horribly miserable, but I was comfortable because it was familiar.
You mentioned getting on video. You're uncomfortable doing that. So this
still am.
It's and once this becomes comfortable, then are you being intentional about seeking that, or are you just naturally uncomfortable?
No, so I think naturally uncomfortable because I've still got a lot of that inferiority, a lot of that, I'm the guy without the dad, when all the other kids had their dad.
There's an inner fat kid trying to get out.
All that stuff. So I stay uncomfortable all the time. When I'm doing video, talking to a client, potential client, doing sales, whatever that is, I'm uncomfortable with it. So to say that I'm comfortable holding myself out as a life coach is not an accurate statement. I'm never comfortable about anything that I do, but I know I'm qualified. So even though I don't feel comfortable with it, I know I can do it. And the reason that I know I can do it is because several things. I was trained to do it. So I took life coach training. I'm certified as a life coach. I've been a minister for over 30 years. A great deal of ministering is life coaching. So I've been doing it for been doing it for a long time, right? I have my own horrible life experience, the terrible things that I went through, and turning that around. So I think I've got a tremendous amount of credibility because I've got the training, I've got the experience as a minister, and I've got the horrible life experience that I was able to turn around and make better. Now, when I go to somebody, I've had the training to know how to deal with their issues. I've been through a bunch of junk myself, right? And I've been dealing with people's problems for over 3 decades. So I would never say I'm comfortable doing anything that I do, but I can do it, and I know I can do it because I have the experience and the training to do so.
Well, experience can be the greatest equalizer.
Oh, yeah.
Anything that we do. And as far as being uncomfortable, there's times where I've stepped on stage as a magician and just terrified behind, I used to go through this ritual behind the curtain. I would just...
That's when you were doing the dark arts, right?
Right. Levitating and pentagons. But I would there was a time where I didn't want anyone to talk to me. I would go through everything in my head and I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Why am I here? And then all of a sudden,
dude,
the curtain opens.
Same thing when I was playing before you're like, it's almost debilitating.
Yep.
Or when you're getting up on stage you're like, why the hell am I putting I don't have to do this. Yeah. Why am I doing this? This is terrifying. And then afterwards, you're like, you get this rush. I read a quote I don't listen to music because I'm happy. I'm happy because I listen to music.
Right.
And it's just turning the music on. You can turn, when we talked about this a couple shows ago, when you go through a breakup, you can choose to watch depressing movies or listen to depressing music.
Right.
Good luck getting over that when you're listening to
yeah, exactly.
Gotta let her go. Or you can, and that's kind of fake it till you make it, but there is,
Well, and that gets into this whole issue and most people are here when it comes to happiness, that I'll be happy when everything's going my way, or I'll be happy when I get that job, that girl, that level of income. I'll be happy. And the fact is that you're more able to get there when you are a happy person. Happiness, it's a cliche, but happiness is a choice. It's absolutely a choice that we make every single day. When people say to me, have a good day, my response always is, I intend to. At the end of the day, we shouldn't look back and go, well, this, and this happened, so it was a bad day. Because that stuff happens to all of us. That stuff can happen, barring some humongous tragedy, but that stuff can happen, and at the end of the day, you can still say, I had a good day because I made it a good day. Happiness, I said this morning in my video, it's not happiness. We're not happy because it happened. It's not happiness, it's happiness. And we create that by habits, routines, and mindset practices.
Matt and I are big believers into speaking it into existence. I mean, we both talk about that. And I think if you wake up in the morning and say, this day's going to be shit.
Right.
You're just like,
oh, it's raining.
It's going to be horrible.
Or it might rain. They say it's going to rain today.
Or instead of saying, okay, well, God, it's going to rain today. You know what I can do? I can work on videos. I can study this.
Exactly.
And making a positive out of every situation.
Exactly.
And going back a little bit to when you were talking about uncomfortable, I like to do uncomfortable things until it becomes comfortable.
Yep.
And then I have to push forward.
Got to do something else.
I think it does, to put myself on stage, for us to do, like, Matt and I we got a new piece of equipment for the show, and it's very uncomfortable. But we're going to push, we're going to do it, we're going to get it right, until it becomes comfortable.
That guy made it look so much easier in that video.
He really did make it look easy.
I'm like, what?
I'm like, oh, this is all we have to do?
Yeah.
No, we're like, wait a minute, that's not working. Why is it not working? The guy said.
No, I definitely believe speaking into existence, but also, my mom always said there's power in the spoken word, and I always had a lot of negative self-talk, punting. If I had a bad punt, I'm like, I suck. I'm horrible. I'm the worst. And I remember I talked to an upperclassman, and he was a believer, and he's like, dude, he's like, stop saying that. Like, you're
creating it.
Yes, that is becoming your identity now. Like, a good punt is, well, that's just one. I'm gonna revert back to whatever that identity is or whatever.
And I think he's taught me a lot just doing this. Yeah. I mean, me and Matt have talked for years. I mean, we just now started turning on the camera, but like we took a road trip and go back to the household name. Mm-hmm. I said, I don't know if I'll
well, you always have a tendency of downplaying everything. Like, I want this to be good. And I'm not saying I don't think I'm going to be the next Joe, right? People that do that.
Right.
But I'm a king at that. And then I said, I don't know if I'm going to be a household name or whatever. And then Matt goes, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to be a household
what's the
name?
point?
So.
Somebody's got to be.
And that things like that help me change because I do have, like Matt was saying, I sometimes I do have negative doubts about myself. I've had a lot of failures, and sometimes those will creep up.
Oh my goodness!
And they will speak. What do you say? The devil speaks.
Well, so and this getting back into the church, you got to be careful what the voices in your head, because the devil and the Holy Spirit a lot of times speak in the same voice. We're taught to test it.
The devil quotes the Bible when Jesus is being tempted, right? So he can say those words. One thing we point out is the power of words is that God spoke the universe into existence. God said, "Let there be light, and let there be this, that," and He spoke it. He spoke it, and it was created. And we're made in the image of God. So if we're made in the image of God, we also have the power to create by our speech. Not in the same way, obviously, but the book of Proverbs says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. And I like to remind people that
is a sword.
Everything that you're saying is creating life or death. So with that, the waitress, that brings my food and it's cold, when I chew her out, that's creating death. But when I say to her, hey, look, everybody has a bad day, just, bring me some more, whatever, now I'm speaking life to me and to her and to people around who are hearing it. So I absolutely believe in speaking things into existence. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think when I said that to you, I wasn't saying it like trying to be a smart ass.
No, he wasn't. He was very like, and I didn't take it that way.
The light bulb went off in your head and you're like, yeah, why not? You almost were given permission to think like that.
Yeah, and I think it's we need those, and that's why we need those people in our lives. That's why I surround myself with people that are going to push me and see potential in me, and because sometimes I won't see potential in myself.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned that too, Jay Connor.
Yeah.
Did he help kind of propel you into getting into the life coach?
Oh my goodness, Jay has been the driver behind it. I mean, because Jay has been in it for so long, and just been such a success at personal development as well as everything else he does. And so Jay asked me to initially to create a program for his students, and so I do personal growth training for all of his real estate investment students. And so that's kind of what got me started going that direction. I created that program and then created my own program. And so yeah, Jay's been huge in that. And I think you all would just be unbelievably blessed to have Jay on the show. I think, the things that he has to offer, I just think he'd be tremendous for your show.
Just the sound bites.
Oh my goodness. Oh, just the accent. I mean, good gracious.
Yeah.
One thing that I was going to say, Matt, the beautiful thing that you did talking about with Billy was you didn't tell Billy something when Billy said, well, I don't want to be this. You didn't tell him something. You asked him a question.
Right.
And that's what we're trained to do as life coaches. Life coaching is asking questions.
So you're saying I'm a life coach?
You're a life coach.
You know what?
You're a life coach. Yeah, you didn't get on LinkedIn. So is asking, a lot of people ask questions, what's the difference between a therapist, counselor, life coach, whatever. We're not in any way qualified to do therapy, counseling, psychology, none of that stuff.
Disclaimers?
The big disclaimer on that, unless we are actually trained specifically in it.
Can you prescribe me some?
I know a guy. Yeah. But one thing that we're taught, or what we're taught as life coaches, is asking people questions. Now, initially, people hate that. They'll say, well, I don't know what to do about this. What should I do? I said, well, what do you think you should do? People hate that.
Why is that?
Why is it important to you? Yeah. Why do you want to do that, right? But asking questions, and Jesus was a master at that. Jesus would ask questions, And so we ask people questions, and what they realize is they can come to their own answers. And we all know when you come to your own answers, that's a lot more powerful than me sitting here telling Billy, you need to do this, this, and this. If Billy comes up with this, this, and this, now Billy's bought in, and Billy's much more likely to do it.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if in the Bible where it talks about have a childlike faith. I have a 3-year-old now, Jackson.
I didn't know that.
And they are constant like, why? Why?
Yes.
Why?
Yeah.
They are so bold with it. And it always ends up with, because I told you, because I said so. But
shut your mouth.
I look at that, and if anyone who's worked in sales, which if you're an entrepreneur, you own a business, you better know how to sell. It's the person who speaks less wins. So I forgot who wrote it, but it said the quality of our life is dictated by the quality of our questions.
Yes.
And Dan Kennedy said, you can read anybody's mind with the right amount of questions.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot, so is there an art to asking questions? I have a couple books on powerful questions and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you is that your natural default now? Because you said you were trained in it.
So it's funny. I remember my mom told me, and I don't remember this really, but my mom told me that one day I came home from when I was in high school and I just broke down in tears. And she said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Everybody brings their problems to me, but I don't have anybody to talk about my problems to." So apparently, I've always been the person that people came to.
Being a minister can be that's a lonely profession.
It's tough. It's tough for sure. But it is a default, all right, to ask those questions. But the biggest key, and this is true about anything, and I know that you all are going to be completely be on board with this. The biggest key in relationships, sales, business, coaching is being a good listener. It is absolutely the most important thing, right? Stephen Covey said, seek to understand before being understood. So how many times do we try to get our point across to somebody?
We're listening to reply.
We're listening to reply. And so being a good listener, so in life coaching, we're trained to listen, to ask questions, and just listen. And keep listening. And when they get to the end, sounds like they're at the end of it, let them keep going, because there's more in there. And to be writing it down. You can't remember all that stuff. And to be writing it down. And then, and you did this, Matt, a while ago, to repeat back to them. And
I was just going to say that. I forget where I learned that. But I would turn around and say, so in life coaching,
it's like a mirroring effect.
They teach you to do this. You can, it is amazing. You can turn into a Jedi by just repeating
100%.
Back to what people say.
100%.
And they're like, I felt listened to.
Right, and when you use their own words, it's so powerful. If they talk in sports metaphors, and you talk in sports metaphors, they feel more connected and more heard. And so being a good listener, not interrupting, not being off somewhere else, writing down what they're telling you, and then repeating that back to them to be sure that you're understanding, now you can really help them out. Instead of, oh, you're having marriage problems, go do these 3 things. Well, I don't have a clue what's going on until I've asked questions and listened deeply. And that, to me, being a good listener is almost a cure-all for every problem. Almost for every problem.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Are you naturally curious?
Very, very naturally curious.
I can see that. Yeah.
I read all the time. I always have. I love to read anything and everything. I ask a million questions. What puzzles me when something comes up now that we have smartphones, people will sit around and wonder, like, what was the name of that actor in that show? And they'll just wonder about it. I'm like, why don't we get out our phone? Just Google it. And so my mom makes fun of me now, and she says, like David says, why wonder about anything? Just find out the answer, what the answer is. Yeah. But yeah, I'm very, very curious. And so it's really easy for me because I want to know what's going on with other people. And I learned a long time ago that the best conversationalist is the person that lets other people talk about themselves. If you want people to walk away from you saying, what a nice guy, what a great guy, let them talk about themselves.
Tell me about yourself.
It's their favorite topic. Yeah.
Just tell me about it.
What do you? So I noticed you have on that NC. Did you go to state? Whatever.
Yeah.
And letting other people just talk about it. No, I did not go to state.
Yeah, it's funny. I picked up something.
Sorry about the state thing.
Over. No, I heard somebody.
Thank you for watching this episode.
There is some quick one-liners. I have them. So I would ask you what you do. You say you're a life coach. I say, wow, that sounds hard. Or that sounds challenging. Because now I'm kind of affirming your intelligence.
You know what he's doing? He's really trying not to say the word interesting.
He's doing a good job of it too.
Interessante. But no, you're saying, wow, that sounds hard. If you try that, or if somebody comes up to you with a complaint and say, that's interesting, why would you say that? Mm-hmm. I'm just those quick one-liners, having them ready.
Absolutely.
And I think so do you think being a conversationalist is something that can be trained?
Oh, we can absolutely be trained. And that's the beauty.
Because some people have the gift of gab.
They do. And that's such a great question, Matt, because, and this is true about all parts of life, because and I felt this way for a long time, that there's something wrong with me inherently. There's something wrong with David Price. I was born without something Billy and Matt have. So they can go crush it, but I never can, because I don't have that, whatever they have. So, and a lot of people have that attitude. I can't do blank, and one thing that I coach people on is using language like I'm a worrier, or I'm bad at math, or I'm bad with directions, or, I'm just a night owl. I can't have a morning routine because I'm a night. You're not anything. You're really not anything. You are what you decide to be and become, right? It's like the quote, you're destined to become whatever you decide to be. So there's nothing wrong with David Price. There's nothing missing in me. I can become whatever I want to become. And the skills that we need to be successful, whether it's sales or conversation or health and fitness, whatever it is, you can absolutely be trained on that. And you can learn that stuff just like a magic trick. You weren't born knowing magic tricks. What did you have to do? Stand in front of a mirror and do cards, right? Matt had to punt. How many footballs do you think you've punted in your lifetime? Thousands and thousands, right? It's not that Matt was born a great punter, but you became that. And I think if we could get that one message across to people, that you absolutely can go from where you are to what you want to be by being trained in it and by practicing it, man, that's a game changer.
Yeah. I think it starts first with believing.
You have to.
Possible. That's a big Les Brown thing.
Which very often, absolutely. Which very often begins with somebody who will help you believe in yourself. Somebody that will help you.
Jay's got, having some bum off the street that comes up and says, hey, you could be a life coach. You're like, whatever,
dude.
When someone brings that gravitas, that credibility.
And that's one of the things I love about life coaching is knowledge, tools, and support. That's what I say all the time. Life coaching is knowledge, tools, and support. I'm going to give you a lot of knowledge. I'm going to give you a ton of tools, and I'm going to support you. And so in the life coaching space, a lot of time, there's all kinds of different programs and different types of support that you give people. How much support? I don't feel right about coaching unless I'm giving somebody all the support I can possibly give them. If I'm going to coach you, I want to give you the knowledge. I want to share the tools with you, and I'm going to be there with you the whole way. And I'm not going to check out on you. If you need me, I'm going to be there for you, because that's what it takes. You know, the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4, talks about two are better than one. If one falls down, you know, but if somebody's there to help him up, you know. And so to me, the support of the life coaching is, for one thing, I love it because I'm naturally, you know, I think a lot of that has, I'd probably get in trouble for this, but my dad died when I was 7. I'm an only child. I was raised by my mother. There are a lot of things that I missed out on masculine-wise because I lost my dad. I don't know anything about cars. I don't know anything about, you know, I feel in many ways much, much less than a real man. I've always felt that way. I'm not a real man. But there's a lot of things I got from my mother that women, I think, typically are naturally better at, like
making
nurturing,
sandwiches,
making a sandwich, not that kind of thing, but nurturing,
that's
listening.
the masculinity you missed out on.
Exactly, the toxic masculinity. But supporting people, I've always loved doing that, and that's one thing that I love about life coaching. So what I'm trying to do is to get people to hear the knowledge, to use the tools, but I want to come along beside you, and I want to walk with you and be that person who's constantly telling you, you can do it. You can get there. Well, how do I know? How do you know I can get there? Because if I can get there, anybody can get there, and I'm going to be with you the whole way. And that's what I love about life coaching, is that constant support. I love doing that.
Yeah.
But that's what people need. Nobody's going to believe in themselves initially unless somebody believes in them most of the time.
Yeah.
So we are, I want to ask, we kind of switch gears just a little
Sure.
bit, because we do deal a lot with business
Yeah.
and entrepreneurs on the channel and stuff. But along with that is having a successful mindset. And we're coming up, I mean, we're running
Oh, we're going to keep going, dude. It's going to be a 3-parter.
yeah, we could. Dave Price Part 17.
We're going to start like asking for money for the
trilogy.
marathon. We'll put a number up there.
You too could save a puppy.
Yeah, that's right. Sow your seed of faith.
All you have to do is dial 1-800 dial a
David
lot.
Price.
So, but how, if you were to give advice to someone that isn't quite there in a successful mindset, how would you direct them to create a successful mindset?
What's the first step?
Yeah, so the first step, I think, is again to figure out where you want to go. What does success look like to you? A lot of times we do what does success look like to everybody else. My first vision board had a Mercedes on it. And every time I would look at that Mercedes, I would think, that's not doing it for me. I don't like that. And then I decided, I don't even want a Mercedes. Why do I have a Mercedes on my vision board? Because everybody else thinks that's success. So now I have an Escalade. But so what is your vision?
Money, huh? Life coaching's good.
It's on the vision board, not in the driveway. Let's be clear about that. It's on the vision board.
It's the vision board.
It's still the vision board. But so what is success for you? What do you want to create? And now, what are the goals that we need to set to get there? And let's commit to taking one action every day that's going to get you there. That's all we're going to do. We're going to commit to taking one action every day that's going to get us there. And if there's one thing I could tell people, because I'll just be real, my business is nowhere near where I want it to be. I mean, it's not even the same zip code where I want it to be. Right,
Well,
but
you are in luck there on this show.
no kidding.
Wow, a lot of
But I still get up every day and I work on my business. 7 days a week, not 5 days a week. 7 days, just like you all do. 7 days a week, every single day. And then when I look back on that and I think about where I started, 0 clients, 0 views on videos, literally. No views on videos. Our friend Stephanie, man, it was either her, I don't know if y'all know Joey Green. If I ever got a view on a video, it was Joey Green or Stephanie Mann. Maybe one view. Horrible. So when I look back on that and I see where I am now, the temptation is to focus on where I am now. And so you don't have what you, but wait a minute. Look, over the last 5 years, your first client was $100 a month for hourly sessions a week. $25 an hour for life coaching, which is an absolute steal. I was doing it for $100 a month because when you get started, you just want to drum up business.
Can you fog a mirror? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So my point, though, is that if I could get one message across to people, it is that taking action works. Taking action works. So let's just commit to one action every day. Just one. Now, the beauty of that is when you take one, you get into that, what's going to happen? You're going to take two. Then you're going to take three. But thinking big and starting small. To me, that's the key to having the success mindset and celebrating wins. This is what most people do not do that. Most people obsess about losses. When they're laying in bed at night, what are they thinking about? I screwed up that sales call. I delivered that defective product. I yelled at my secretary. They're going over all that stuff rather than celebrating their wins. And I don't care how little the win is. One of the things that I try to get my clients to do is to eliminate the word just from their vocabulary. We've got a whole list of words that we try to get people to eliminate from their vocabulary.
Justice?
Just.
Okay.
No, justice is a good word.
Okay.
We try to get people to eliminate the word just, because people will say, I just walked 2 miles today. Or I only walked 2 miles today. I say, wait, stop. Say that again. Say that again. You walked 2 miles today. That's 2 miles farther than all the people who didn't walk a step. One story I tell people is that I used to race before COVID. I haven't gotten back into it, but I used to race. And I have 3 goals when I race. And my 3 goals when I race are to pass somebody. I don't care who it is. If it's grandma in a walker, I'm going to pass somebody. I'm going to not lose to anybody wearing a tutu. Because in any race, there's somebody wearing a tutu. Sometimes it's even a woman. And then my third...
Sometimes it's even a woman.
Sometimes even a woman.
That's good.
And then my third is don't come in last. Don't be last. Well, so... They had a beach race over at Atlantic Beach. They had 3 races at the same time, a mile, 5K, and a 10K. I signed up for the 10K. I came in dead last. And when I say dead last, I don't mean I was right on the heel. I mean they were packing up. They were packing up the stuff.
Make sure they knew I was
right.
last.
They were. I got my money's worth out of last.
Table?
Yeah, they're packing up all the stuff when I get there. So
I was a medal.
What's the medal for coming in dead last? So I was really beating myself up over that. But then I said to myself, I came in ahead of every single person in Carteret County who did not even come out here. So I really beat a lot more people than I lost to. And people say, that's semantics, it's words, it's woo. I don't care what you call it. That works. When what we call reframing, right? You reframe what you're looking at and look at it in a different way. And so to celebrate wins, we get people to eliminate that only. I only walked 2 miles today. Stop. Say it again. I walked 2 miles today.
Yeah,
right?
I think
celebrating wins.
We do that with the channel. We joke around with saying that we only have 278 subscribers, but yet if you put 278 people in this office building, you'd be like, whoa, there's
absolutely.
A lot of people here.
It's a win.
And we talked about that earlier on the step 1 content, step 2 audience.
Right.
If you're not okay with doing this for no one,
then you
zero
don't need to be doing
viewers.
it.
Like if you don't have anything to say to nobody, you don't have nothing to say to 100,000.
That's such a beautiful thought. One of the wisest things I ever heard was an older preacher said, young guys would come up to him and say, I'd like to go into preaching. Do you think I should go into preaching? And he would always ask them, are you preaching already?
Right.
Are you telling people about God? Are you telling people about the Bible? Listen, if you're not doing it because you love it and you want people to hear it, don't go into it to make money. Please don't go into it to make money. And I think that's true about what I do. It's true about what you all do. I do what I do because I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it if nobody's paying attention. I love it that much and I'm going to keep doing it. That's why it's so important, again, back to alignment, to align what you're doing with what you love to do, to align that, because if you don't love it, you're going to get discouraged. It's just too hard.
10,000 hours are impossible
It's just
if it's
too
a grind. So you hit on something pretty hard right there, right? Because you were talking about don't say you're not good at math or don't say, but there is a little bit of self-awareness, right? Mm-hmm. You kind of took your own temperature. For your whole life, people had just been willing to share. It was natural. It wasn't like you were a hermit. Nobody wanted to share anything with you. And you're like, I'm going to be a life coach. Suddenly, my training and my certificate, they're going to share. No, you either have it or you don't. Mm-hmm. No one taught Shaq how to be 7 feet tall.
Right.
No one taught you how to be I don't even know that word, open or inviting or whatever. But you hit on, I think it was Victor Antonio that said, you don't fall in love with your product, you fall in love with your customers, right? You fall in love with them and whatever their problems are. And does it feel like work?
It doesn't.
You're doing it 7 days a week.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I used to hear people say that, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. I thought that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
And then you found that what you're doing.
Right,
no one's going to pay me to play bad golf.
But that's absolutely a fact. I never feel like I'm working. I love what I do every minute of every. Now, that's not to say that I don't get into times with things that I don't feel like I'm good at, like marketing, or a sales call, or something like that. There are down times. I'm not saying there aren't down times. There are really excruciating down times, and there are times that I tell my assistant coaches and I tell them I just want to quit. I want to quit so badly, but why don't I? Because I love what I'm doing so unbelievably much. Now, I think there's something to be said about that, because not everybody can do that. You take a person who's got kids, maybe it's a single parent. They've got kids. They can't drop everything and go be a pro golfer and do the 15 years of, the Nike circuit or whatever it is. They can't do that. So another thing we have to work on with people is learning to love what you do and seeing what you do as being in alignment with where you want to go. So I had a friend who worked at a grocery store in Kentucky, and he said, I feel like as a Christian, I feel like
sounds like a country music song right there.
I got a friend that works at a country store.
Produce.
And there's a lost relationship in there too, in a pickup truck. But so he said, I don't feel like I'm doing what I ought to do as a Christian. He said, I'm working in a grocery store. I feel like I need to be in ministry. I said, dude, what, you're a Christian working in a store. What are you doing every day? You're ministering to those people. If you leave there, who's going to be the minister to those people? Who's going to be the minister to the customer? Right. So I think that
Paul was a tent builder.
Paul's a tent maker, right? Yeah. So I think there's two things to do there. We need to do as much of what we love as we can. So like for me right now, this is a side hustle. And I don't know what it's going to turn into, but life coaching is a side hustle. I preach full time and life coach is a side hustle. So that's how I'm doing it. Some people are stuck in a job that they don't much care for, and it's not what they want to do. So let's start moving toward what you love to do. Let's start a little bit on the weekends. Let's start taking courses.
Do you think enough people know what they love? Because when they hear that, do what you love, and it's like, what do I love?
What do I love?
Like I think Brian Tracy says, if money was no object, what would you do? And they were like,
I don't know.
I'd lay around all day. Like if I won the lottery, work, I wouldn't do that.
I love that you said that.
Do you think enough people have thought about? Because I don't think happiness is a good aim, but I love fulfillment.
Yeah.
Like if you're fulfilled in what you're doing, basically you're living on purpose. Is what it sounds like what you're doing.
What I love, that brings up something, Matt, that what you just said. Marie Forleo is a business coach, an influencer, celebrity. She's fantastic. But two of my most important life mottos I got from Marie Forleo. One is everything is figure-outable. I can't tell you how many times that's kept me going. When you run up, you guys do this all the time. You run up against some problem and you're like, well, I can't fit. No, everything's figure-outable. Somebody knows how to do this. The other thing she said was clarity comes from engagement, not from thought. And to me, that is such a profound thing to understand. Clarity about what you want to do comes from engagement, not from thought. You're not going to sit at home at night and think, okay, what do I love to do? What should I be doing with my life? You're going to get your behind out in the world and you're just going to start doing stuff. And you're just going to do this and that and that. And eventually, you're either going to hit on or just fall into something that you love if you go and try enough things. And again, it comes back to action taking, right? So many people want to sit around and plan. They want to think. They want to figure it out, analysis paralysis, instead of going out and engaging in the world. To me, 99% of growth and understanding about ourselves comes from going out and engaging, doing stuff in the world, trying different stuff. And clarity comes from engagement, not from thought. That just rocked my world when I understood.
I think I heard somewhere, thinking it's a great employee but a terrible master.
Terrible.
It's
terrible.
So you're not saying don't think, but you're also saying, really you just have to kind of step outside, observe yourself. Like if I was Billy observing Matt's life, what would I tell Matt?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And you'll start to pick up on trends. That's how most businesses start out. Like you do something for yourself and your neighbor's like, that's really cool, man. That pulls weeds up cooler. Can you make me one? And then the other one's like, where can I get that? And you're like, shit, I got a business here.
But it comes from engagement. And another thing that people don't do is to broadcast what they want to do. I have somebody in my family who her bucket list item is to hike some trail in the UK. But she's got 4 kids. A couple of them have a lot of really serious needs, and she can't see a way to make that happen. She can't see a way to make that come true. And she said, I just keep that to myself. I just don't talk to anybody. I said, wait. That's exactly the wrong thing to do. You need to be going out and telling everybody what I want to do is go hike that trail. Because what's going to happen is somebody's going to come up to you and go, hey, I heard about this great travel deal that you can get and go do it. She had somebody come up to her and said, hey, if you can find somebody to watch your kids, I'll pay for the whole trip. I'll bankroll the trip for you.
Wow.
Why did they do that? Because she went around telling everybody what her dream was. But most people keep it inside because they say, I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to fail. I don't want people to make fun of me. Forget that. The more you go out talking about what you want to do, the more resources you're going to attract into your life that are going to help you go create that. So, man, don't stop talking about it. Yeah. Tell everybody.
And you said you're not good at marketing? I was like, what? Isn't that marketing?
I think that is. Yeah. With that being said, guys, if you like this,
this
go ahead. We need subscribers. We want to make a career out of this.
Yeah. I think there is definitely some truth to that. But at the same time, be careful who you go out and talk, because there are a lot of negative people out there.
Sure.
It doesn't, especially as you're getting started out. We tend to. I forget I sent you a video. You're like, I'm going to post it. I'm like, no, dude, let's do something that's worth posting about. Our media, we see that in church, right? Like, oh, this person needs that sermon. It's like, dude, you need to look
in the mirror.
At One Harbor, they talk about look up, look in, then look out.
Yeah, I love that.
But I think just a lot of us just don't have something we're excited enough about. It feels like we're referring people to go watch a shitty movie. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, God, you got to go see this terrible, or you got to go to this terrible restaurant, eat here.
Smell this is awful.
Yeah, smell my socks.
It's like it smells awful.
Why?
I don't want to be any part of that.
Yeah, like you get what I'm saying. Like,
Absolutely.
But when you're on purpose, do you feel like you're divinely led? Do you feel like you're being led?
That's a good question. I feel like that God is active. I don't know the degree to which God has come down and said, okay, there's the path and I'm going to help you get to it. I know that everything I have is from Him. It's because of Him. Everything I can do is because of His blessing. And I think I'm divinely equipped to do certain things. I was not divinely equipped to play football, not divinely equipped to be a successful magician, but that I do have this divine equipment. And then I think God puts me in the world and says, you need to go make that happen, right? Because you're not going to sit there and it's going to magically happen. So I think I'm at least divinely equipped, and then I've got to go out and make those things happen. Yeah. That's my view of it.
Because, we have the Holy Spirit's the helper. It's not the doer.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a great point.
That's
absolutely a great point. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just curious about that.
Yeah.
Man, I could go on all day. We're gonna do a business specific
We should
break this down.
Next time we have you, we're just nothing but business.
Be happy
Be happy to.
Do you so you've watched the channel? Do you have any advice for us?
Dude, seriously, I love what you're doing. I love your energy. I love your relationship, your chemistry and banter is phenomenal. The people you have on are just phenomenal people. Come on. Yeah, I know, right? Bottom of the barrel. Nobody else to come on. Jeez, we called everybody in town. No, man, y'all are just crushing it. And I love, you're so inspirational because of your hustle, because of, the work. and I just can't. I look up to both of you. I really do. I mean, I just admire what you do. You inspire me all the time, and you just keep doing what you're doing, man, because you're really, really having an impact, man. You're phenomenal.
I think we're having a good
Man.
time, and I think we.
Can I just record you? Like,
Can that be our soundbite? I was thinking on the way over here. I was like, me and Matt really have to get a mission statement and post it on Facebook. And
There
stuff.
you go.
We're just gonna
Now
have
you
to
have
do
it. Now you have it.
Just do that.
yeah.
And really, I don't want any of you all or anybody else to think that, well, he's on the show, so he's got to blow smoke or whatever. I don't do that.
We're cool with that.
When
We're good with that.
We're fine with
when
that.
Other guests have not thought like that.
We ask other people, they're like, yeah,
you're all right.
They've
You're
inhaled
okay.
smoke.
You're
They have
okay.
not blown it.
But when I see people who are, having the impact, because you're so amazing for our community and you're amazing for a bigger world, I just feel compelled to really try to encourage you to keep doing that. And it's a good work that you're doing, and I truly appreciate it. So just keep doing it.
And we laid all that brick.
Yeah, man.
Wow, you did a good job.
I didn't ask you this. Who do you consider a hero?
That's a good question.
It's a great question. So the biggest influence on my life, and in many ways a hero, is our friend Jay Connor. He's one of them for sure. I've learned more about living a happy life from Jay than I've ever learned from anybody else. I would honestly have to say that as far as a hero, and this may sound like a cliche or whatever, but my mother. When my dad died, it was on her. I'm an only child, so it was on her, and she worked full time. She kept the house. She did the cooking. She had to make all the decisions. How in the world does a person do that? I think about with my kids, if something happened to my wife and literally everything was on me, I wouldn't want to get out of bed. But my mother got up and did it, and dealing with her own grief and dealing with the rear end that I was to raise. I was horrible. And just how anybody could be more of a hero than that, I can't begin to imagine. So,
How do you think your life would have been different if your dad didn't pass away?
man, oh man, how many times have I thought about that? I think that I would be...
Because it sounds like for a long time you're like, my life would be perfect if my dad was still
I would
around.
thought, yeah, I
That
thought
was
that
your
would...
main. You said your main excuse.
Yeah, I was doing a life growth exercise the other day for myself, and that was one of the things that I was having to answer was, how do you think your life would be different? And my automatic response is I would be more of a man, because I've never felt like I'm a real man. I've never felt that way, that I'm a real man. But
See,
if
I
I
don't
had,
struggle with that. I just feel so masculine.
well, yeah,
My shaved legs. No hair from here down.
That's the automatic response I would give to that. I think that there probably would be maybe some greater security, probably some more discipline. I was always undisciplined. I think my dad would have brought some more discipline. He was ex-military. He was a prison guard. He was
He was a man's man.
He was a man's man. He worked on his own cars and that kind of stuff. And I feel like I would have been more manly or whatever. But I just feel like that at more than anything else, Matt, I feel like that I would have been more secure in myself and not felt like I'm the guy who's missing this humongous half of his life because I lost my dad. I'm whole, and so I can approach life as a whole person because I always approached it as a half person, a defective person.
How do you project yourself as a father? I know you have a son, Isaiah, but how can do you show him? I mean, how did you learn to be a man to show? I mean, it sounds horrible. But
No. That's a tremendous question. So I have two sons, Jack and Isaiah, and a daughter. And it's funny, my oldest son, Jack, is in training to do corrections in Nebraska. My youngest son, Isaiah, is taking a CDL to drive a truck. My wife's dad drove a truck. My dad was in corrections. It's kind of funny how they're...
What's your memory of him like?
It's funny, I've got
Year
about
7.
2 memories. I've got a memory of my dad helping me ride a bike, and I've got a memory of my dad getting aggravated trying to put a lunchbox together and throwing it down because he was so irritated with it. And that's about all I have of my dad. I just don't have much there. But I'll tell you one thing that did, and I use this a lot in my teaching as an example of a reframe, is that my earliest memory of wanting to be anything was to be a dad. I wanted to be a dad more than anything. It's all I ever wanted, literally. And I made up my mind that I was going to be the most present and active dad I could be. And I did. And it was because I knew I can go at any minute. My dad died at 44. That was a hard year for me. 44 was a hard year for me. But I can die anytime. And I don't want to have ever left anything on the table when it comes to time spent with my kids. And I know because I'm a minister, my schedule's more flexible. And most people can't do this. And there's no judgment here. But, I can count literally on one hand the things that my kids were involved in that I missed. And most of them I was coaching it. I coached them in everything they ever did as long as I could. I was at the recitals and that kind of thing. And I'm not bragging about that. It's an unbelievable blessing to have been able to do that.
Okay, we get it. You're better than us. All right? Jeez.
But the reason is because I lost my dad and I knew that my kids could lose their dad.
Gives you
and
like
I
a sense of urgency.
I'm going to be there every time I can be there. And, and one thing in coaching sports, I coached for over 20 years. 4 different sports, and I tried to be a dad to those kids as well, because so many of those kids either don't have a dad at home, it's an absentee dad, it's an abusive dad, and they need a dad. And I thought it was such an honor. And I coach Pop Warner, I coach rec ball, I coach Little League. It's such an honor to be a father figure to those kids.
And responsibility.
It's a tremendous responsibility, and it makes you watch how you behave. It makes you watch how you talk, the things that you do. But it's just, I've always had that desire to be a dad to everybody that I could be a dad to, and because I lost mine. And it really, really impacted my life in that way.
If you could tell him one thing, what would you tell him?
My dad?
Yeah.
Whew, you're going to make me cry, man. You're like...
I'm just curious because I'm being a new father. It's taken on a whole new...
It changes everything.
I've always seen myself as a dad.
I tell people all the time that as long as I've been a Christian, I've been in church my whole life, I learned more about God from becoming a father than anything else I ever did. Because I read about the patience of God. But I didn't have a clue until my kids started being knuckleheads, and then I was like, "Oh, you really don't kill them when they do that." Right? That's how God is as a father. But I guess if I could, tell my dad one thing, I suppose it would be that I know I didn't do a very good job of it, but I hope that there's something in there that he could be proud of. For most of my life, there was not much to be proud of for most of my life, but I hope that I would tell my dad, I hope there's one thing in there that you can look at and go, hey, he got that one pretty good. That's not bad.
Would that be the one thing you'd want him to tell you?
Oh, him to tell me?
I'm proud of you?
Yeah, I'm proud of you. Or
it's amazing how much weight that has.
Probably more than anything, I would want my dad to tell me that it was okay, that everything wasn't perfect. And I think everybody needs that. I think everybody needs somebody to tell them it's okay. And I don't care what you did. I don't care how bad it was. It's okay. We can let it go. We can forgive ourselves, and we can move on, and we can still have a good life. And I would like for him to tell me that as big of a screw up as I was for all that time, it's okay. And
you're going to be on the Magician and the Jock show one day. It's all going to pay off.
That is going to be worth gold. Well, I tell my kids, and you can ask each one of my children, because I tell them this all the time, like, there's no problem that cannot be fixed. We just may not like the situations that we have to take to fix them.
100%.
So, and they're like, oh, shut up, Dad.
I've told my kids a million times, I don't care if you murder somebody and hide the body under your bed, come tell me. We'll work it out. But that was one of my biggest fears. Like I did, I hid stuff from my mother that if I would have just brought it up and said, hey, I need help, it would have turned out much better. And so I always told my kids, I don't care what you do, please just talk about it, and we'll get some help with it.
Yeah, because we talked on one of the episodes, recent episodes, like we hold our parents as like these.
They're like mythical beings.
Oh my word!
You can't tell them, but
parents are the original Google.
Yeah,
they
were. That's true. They do everything.
That's true.
My dad said it.
It was gold.
That's an interesting thing, and I thought about that a minute ago when you said that, because my dad, of course, was dead, and so my dad literally became mythologized. My dad was the guy everybody loved. Even the inmates loved him. The prisoners loved him. Everybody had all good things to say about my dad, which is great, but it's also a lot of pressure. Because for my whole life, I was going, I'm not living up to that. I'm not him. I'm not good enough like him. And that was a huge weight for me to carry. And finally I learned how to deal with it. But that was a big thing.
Interesting. Damn it.
There it is.
Do you think the younger David Price would be proud of the older?
I think the younger David Price would be like,
Who the hell is that?
That's not me.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, because for most of my life, I literally thought it was impossible to ever amount to anything. I mean, I'm just being real. I thought it was David Price.
You set your expectations pretty low.
Because that's all there was, you know. And I thought, I can never be anything. I'm not going to try to be anything because I don't have what it takes to be anything. So if the younger David Price looked at me, he would be like, nah, that's not who that is. That's not who that is. That's another guy. It can't be me, because I can
even
never
that image, you still wouldn't believe it.
Never believe it.
So what would you, as David Price now, if you could go back and talk to that David?
Would he listen?
Yeah, he wouldn't. He wouldn't. And see, that's the problem. He wouldn't, because so many people were telling me all those years, you can do this, you can do that, and I was not in a place to listen. He still wouldn't listen. But if I could, if I could say something, I would say, you can. Mm-hmm. You can. And I guess, man, if a message that if we could get out to people is, you can. I don't care how long you've been trying to lose weight. I tried literally for decades. I'm not kidding. I was way overweight for decades. But I could do it, and I did it. So many people who are watching this, or other people, are thinking, I've been this my whole life. I can never be anything else. I've been this my whole life. I can never be anything else. What they need to hear from us is, you can.
Why not? Yeah.
Why not? You can. And they need somebody to come alongside them and keep telling them and keep helping them and keep reminding them. You can. That's above all messages, that is the message that people need to hear. I don't care how long you've been this. You can be that. Let's help get you there.
And if you need someone to help you be that,
there you go. You got your man right there.
This guy, this guy makes you want to run through a wall. I know it's all about James, but I'm like challenging myself.
You know, so I think that's a good stopping point.
Sure.
But how can they get in touch with you?
Sure.
How can they reach you?
We'll flash those on at the early, in case anyone's still watching.
Sure. Right, no kidding. So Facebook is my main platform. My personal page is where I do most of my stuff. So it's David Price. If you look up Facebook, David Price, Morehead City, you're going to see a profile picture of the unbelievably handsome dude. That's me. And so you can find me there. That's it. And so it's a public page. You can friend request me, but it's a public page. I've also got a page for Christians overcoming stress from work and family, and who isn't among us doing that?
That pretty much hits them all.
That right? So they can request to get into that group at my Facebook page. But I try to drive everybody to my Facebook page, David Price, Morehead City, North Carolina, and you can find me on there. Hit me up, and we can connect.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Did you have a good time?
Dude, this was as awesome as I expected it to be.
If you don't laugh and almost cry, you didn't have a good time.
I think
there were a couple of tears very close, very close. This has been phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We thank
so
you for
much.
coming on.
Thank you for the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's well worth
Phenomenal.
it. So guys, do us a big favor. Subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and hit that notification bell.
Smash the like button.
Smash the like button. Guys, we'll see you on the next video.
Peace.